everybody. I'm your host, Miss Wedeh Guar, and I have a wonderful guest with me today on an episode that is going to be so touching to the audience. We have heard of gentle parenting, right? But today's topic, I'm going to steal this moment and allow him to introduce himself. So, Lane, would you please give our audience a brief intro about who you are and what you do?
Hello, everyone. Weddy, thank you so much for bringing me onto your podcast.
You're welcome.
Um, I'm really looking forward to our conversation. My name is Lane Igoudin. I'm a father, and I'm saying a father because I'm one of two fathers. My husband of almost 30 years and myself have adopted two kids from the foster care system here in Los Angeles.
Okay.
I wrote a book about it. It's called Family Maybe. And in this memoir, I depict our process because what we thought would be a relatively easy, painless, opportunity to provide a home for a couple of kids ended up being a uphill battle that went on for about 3 years. And even though we prevailed in the end, and our kids are now 18 and 20, and they're absolutely wonderful, wonderful young ladies. We have two daughters. It was never a given. It was never a given. So I wrote a book to share with other parents what it's like to go through the foster system as an adoptive parent, as a foster adoptive parent,
Mhm.
and also kind of share some of the takeaways from the parenting experience. And I guess this is something I'll be talking about today as well, about some of the mindful takeaways, some of the lessons that I learned from 20 years of parenting daughters.
Cannot wait. Well, you guys already heard the topic of today's discussion. Today's discussion is going to be about mindful parenting, right? So, when we talk about mindful parenting, is it mostly about being mindful as a parent, as who you are, or is it more of being mindful of how you parent?
Well, I think that parenting provides you with a great opportunity to actually be in the contemplative, in a mindful practice.
Mhm.
I'd like to kind of back up a little bit and tell your listeners that I've actually been practicing mindfulness for, well, I guess since 1995. That makes it 30 years. But with different, I would say, with different groups, with different traditions, mostly with Zen, I should say. So there's some things that I learned, but to me, it's not separate. When we try to think about our spiritual life, when we try to think about how to live our life more meaningfully and more in a
Mhm.
more balanced way, uh, being a parent is not something that is outside of that. So I have looked for some ways to learn and to incorporate some of those lessons into my life, and I think it helped me in some ways. I wouldn't say I became better, but I think I have changed through my mindful experiences, through my spiritual practice. So one thing I would like to probably start with is that I think it's important to
Mhm.
to pause and notice those parenting moments, like when you're with your child, and I know there's a lot going on, and it's easy, and I know because like I said, we raised two kids without anybody's help, and it's easy to just be reactive and sort of respond to the ongoing
Yeah, the chaos around you, right?
yeah, but maybe take a breath, don't respond, step back and notice what it is that they're doing, that your kids are
Mhm.
doing. Be there, be there with them.
Mhm.
I just spoke on a podcast for dads.
Mhm.
It's called Great Dad Talks, and there, as I was talking to the host, I said, get your eyes off the phone, take your eyes off the screen and look at your kid. Look at your
I
kid,
know. What are
right?
you thinking?
Yeah, yeah. So resist that urge, to check your phone, to go over the next thing to do, the shopping list or whatever else you need to be. Just be there for a moment. Be there as you chat with your child, when you walk them to school or when you shop with them, or they're playing on the playground and you're sitting here, because those moments are essential. This is your life, and it's also their life.
Yes.
And yeah, so this is one thing I would recommend. I can mention a few more. Yeah. Another thing I would like to bring up is that I think we all have certain expectations for what our kids should be and who they
Mm-hmm.
should be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And those expectations are based on who we are. This worked for me. This is who I am. So therefore, my child,
Should be.
right, right, should be just like me. They should follow the same path. They should have the same, talents, abilities, or and so on and so forth. But what I noticed is that they are who they are.
Yes.
you know and so we want them to be a certain person, but they are the people that they are. And so like like I'll give you an example. I'm not in any way an athlete. I don't have a single athletic bone in my body. It's just not me.
Uh,
But one of our daughters, our older daughter, I noticed from time she was very, very small that she had this incredible sort of upper body strength.
mm-hmm.
She would lift things which clearly were really hard to lift. And she was also kind of very competitive, assertive. I'm like, looks like she has some kind of, it might be a good in for her to go into some kind of sports.
Works right.
So we tried out swimming. She was good at swimming. And from that, we went into water polo. So she actually ended up playing water polo for 7 years, all the way till she was 14. And I would say that her water polo was a very big part of my life because I was the one taking her to the practices, to the games, and so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And it was great for her. Really, it was like she was really a natural at that. And it was such a great exercise, and being part of the sports team, building those skills, social skills, working together as a team. And for a girl, it was so good to have this healthy body image by playing sports. So all those things were good. I remember other parents would ask me, "So did you play water polo when you were growing up?" Like, what? Really? No,
I did
not me.
not.
But she's good at it.
Yeah,
She's
she's
good at
good
it.
at
Now,
it. Yeah.
I'm just kind of going to that. So ask yourself, meet them where they are. What are they good at? Are
Mm-hmm.
they good at numbers? Are they good at reading? Are they good at cooking, at being social? What are they naturally drawn to? What kind of shows they're looking for?
Abilities, right?
You know,
Natural abilities.
these days maybe they have some really great abilities for playing video games,
Yeah.
or for my younger daughter really got into TikToking, editing videos and things like that. And she had a huge following when she was in middle school. Interestingly enough, I was like, well, there might be something there. So what kind of experiences will help them feel good about themselves? What kind of experiences will help them build their own identity? Not so basically, my takeaway has been, not to project, but
Mm-hmm.
to kind of keep maybe a closer look at what they are good at, what they're drawn to, who they really are.
For me, for those of you who don't know, and I'm going to say this again, if you're subscribed to this podcast or following me on any social media platform, it could be TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. It is Solo Shift Podcast, and that's what it is. So I'm a single mother of two. My oldest is going to be, have to think, 24.
Mm,
Yes. And my youngest is about to be 16. So I find myself in this space of connecting with them. I feel that it draws in, or it creates, how can I say this? Like, it brings out the child in me.
hmm
And
Yes.
I love it. And I love it. Like, my oldest, when he calls me, and he'll be like, he'll start off first by saying, "Hey girl, how are you doing?" I said, "Girl," he's like, "Okay, I'm just kidding. Hey mom." He's like, "Hey mom, how are you?" So I see that when he do that, it's to bring out, like to start off with some form of joke. just in case I'm serious in a moment, I'm at work, to just bring that playful side out of me so that way he can be vulnerable to open up to talk. So I'm mindful enough to know that my parenting style don't have to be so serious. I can enjoy this journey, getting to know my children, getting to heal that side of me that I never got to attend to as a child. My child or my children have pointed so many parts of me out. And I had to go in and think, like, okay, is this something that I need to work on? Is this why I'm mad? And I started to work on those things. So, like, for you, what are some of the natural abilities that you can expand upon or grow within your children?
Well, like I said, I mean, it's important to pay attention to who they really are, not who they really are. But Weedy, I agree with you so much about the fact that you notice, you notice what your kids bring up in you.
Yes.
That's that contemplative, mindful piece that you just mentioned. That notice that, because children can teach you a lot about yourself.
Yes.
It's not just about being a parent. It's
Yes.
just about like, wait a minute, you know, she just made me angry. Why? She didn't mean to. Well, sometimes they do, I should say. But let's say they're smaller. They just do things or say things, and that just sets you off. But why? I mean, it's not. She didn't mean to say that or do that, but for some reason, I'm
Yeah.
pull my hair out here. So what is it? Where does that anger come from, or where does that joy come from? you
Mhm.
know so children can teach us a lot about ourselves, and to use a Zen expression, turn that lamp inward, right?
Mhm.
So instead of getting starting to react or get emotional, turn it inwards. Look at what those interactions bring to the surface. Is it, like I said, anger or tenderness or avoidance,
Mhm.
maybe grief, or joy or worry? What is happening in you right now? What did they bring up in you? Sort of, sit with it for a second, and is there something new in that, something unexpected? Because you often there is, often there is.
So when we're parenting, right? I don't know if you've ever done this before. Have you ever just sat down to like be so mindful to listen to the
Yes.
conversation that your children are having?
Yes, yes, yes. And that's another thing, is about learning from your child.
Yes.
And I remember that one of our daughters, was when she was a teen, was going through some very emotional time,
Mhm.
and she said, and I'm trying to sort of reason with her, I'm trying to explain things away, blah blah. Blah. And she said, and she just blurted, you just don't understand, you don't know what I'm going through. I'm like, and I sat back and said, you know what, you're right. I don't know what you're going. I'm not you.
Right.
So why don't you tell me? You
Mm,
know, teach me, so I can understand, and maybe
right.
I can help you. So I'm here. Just tell me what you're going through. And maybe I won't understand, but I'll try. So that was and I'll tell you, I do remember that it brought us closer together, because in seeing this sort of reactive, direct, more like an authoritarian, she saw more like, okay, well, he's as they become older, they become more of our equals, more of our
Yeah.
friends. So more of a confidant. And
Mhm.
so, like, yeah, he is here to listen to me, and maybe just listen. Maybe
Yeah.
sometimes there's nothing we can do.
At all. There's nothing we can do. You said it just right. There's absolutely nothing we can do. And sometimes our children are so afraid of voicing how they feel to their peers. And as parents, being the role model, I feel that being mindful or parenting mindfully, it opens up a space for your children to come to you and talk to you
Yes.
instead of them coming at the time that they try to come to you. Because what I said previously, my son always come in a joking way. He
Mm,
tried to break the ice just to come to see, test the temperature to see, okay, let me see how my mom is doing today. Let me see if she's busy before I say what I want to say or what I need to say. But then he does that with respect.
hmm
So him coming or our children coming to us mindfully should set us back and say, okay, I want to create this safe space for this child to talk to me. I feel like our children should always come to us first before going out to the outside world.
Yes, yes,
Seek help.
yes, and getting some advice which may which may be much
Yeah.
less.
Which would turn everything upside down. And then you start to question yourself. You start to question your parenting. You start to question, like, okay, like, where did I go wrong? Like, what are some of the things that I did not do right as an individual in my life that's reflecting in my parenting now? Yeah, I remember this like yesterday, and I want every single mother or a single dad to get close to this, right? And listen to what I'm about to say. As a single parent, you are the only one in the home. Like you are a parent. You have your partner there with you. Your husband is in his home with you. I'm very sure you've gotten some kind of harsh conversation from the outside through your children, judging them of your relationship, of who you are. Kids hear things and bring it in the home to us as parents.
Mhm, mhm.
But it doesn't always come out as them telling us. It shows up in their attitude because they cannot protect their parents outside. So they hold that anger within and will sometimes project their feelings onto us as parents. And all we can do, like you said, I don't know how you feel right now.
Mhm,
Tell me,
mhm.
because you're the only one who knows how you feel. It creates a safe space for them.
Yes, yes. And I'll tell you something which might be, I mean, shocking to some people, but
Yeah.
I would say, and I'm guessing your audience, exactly because they're listening to a podcast. I think they're very, very dedicated parents, really trying to work on their parenting skills. And let me tell you, if something happens, most of the time, almost always, it's not your fault.
No.
And
And
I
look,
and I just have to tell, I
go.
have to tell, and the older they get, the less of a fault it is.
Yes, because they're trying to figure out who they are.
The older they get, the more we try to, instead of, tell them what to do, we try to create the conditions for them to really come into their own as
Hmm.
adults, as
Hmm.
adults. So if they make mistakes, they make their own mistakes.
Thanks.
We try to lead them by example, give them some good role modeling, again, creating sort of safe conditions to be the best they can be. But if they go out there and screw up, well,
So
you screwed
sad.
up. What are you going to do about it now?
Yes, you are absolutely correct. You are right about that. I swear you are. I remember when my kid turned 18. This kid, my God. So my kid, I call them day and night. I don't know why I say this, but they're the opposite. Like you said, our children are their own. We cannot make them to be something other than who they are.
Yeah.
Oh, my oldest, he's kind of like me, ugly, but when it's time to be serious, he can be serious. When this kid turned 18, I was in my bed sleeping. It's 12 midnight. He should have been sleeping to go to school. This kid came and jumped in the bed on me and said, Mommy, can you believe I just turned 18? And I'm like, yeah, you're an adult right now. I will believe it when you move out. Like, shock me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Do something to have
Just a
this
number. It's
right.
just a number.
I'm like, it's just a number. You still have more
Yeah.
to learn. And he was
Mhm.
like, okay, so I had to catch myself because I was sleeping and I had to be at work at 5 in the morning and it's 12 midnight and you just woke me up out of my sleep. But at that time, it was selfish of him to do that, but he wanted to celebrate. And
Yeah.
me not understanding, I'm like, no, like you just broke into my sleep. I'm not celebrating you till 6 a.m., 12 noon the next day. which was the next day. But at that time, I wasn't mindful of how he needed me to be there to celebrate with him, just a quick celebration. So when I said it, he was like, "Oh, I just came in bed to jump on you so that you can experience how happy I am to see it." Then I caught myself real quick. I was like, "So what do you want us to do?" And in the back of my mind, I'm like, "This is selfish. I need to sleep."
But you did the right thing.
Yeah,
You did the right thing.
yeah. But then it's like I woke up and I was like, "Okay, so what do you want us to do?" He was like, "Oh, mommy, let's do what we always do." I said, "What is that?" He was like, "Remember when I was this age?" And he started reminding me. Very
Hmm.
first thing we'll do when it's my birthday, you'll hold my hand and we'll pray. He was just looking for a
Mm.
simple prayer
Mm.
to welcome his 18th birthday. And I was in my feelings about sleeping. So it's like that's a
We have
moment.
to be two people at once.
Yeah,
One thing, like, I need to go back to bed because I need to get up at 5 a.m. I have work to do,
right.
but then I also need to be a mother now, right this second. And so, which one do I choose? And it sounds like you chose to be the parent,
I chose to be a parent. I chose to be a parent. And
selflessly.
yes, yes, I chose to be a parent. And when I became a parent in that moment, it was the best thing that ever happened to him.
Hmm.
And he was like, "Mommy, I love you so much." And he took his bubbly butt back to his room and left me alone. I
Yeah.
mean, like some of the things that parents now missed out on, I get it. I understand. I've been there. As a single parent, we stay working in survival mode, trying to get to this place of where we can thrive successfully. We missed out on those moments with our children. Now, society has it as to gentle parenting. I'm curious to know your point of view on gentle parenting. So, what do you think gentle parenting is for you?
Well, one thing you just said just reminded me, like when you were describing your 18-year-old coming to waking you
Yeah,
up at midnight, and also the way he addressed you, and he sounds very playful.
he is.
And the thing is, I think it reminds you, like, it's our opportunity to kind of to be kids again in
Mhm.
some ways. It's like, okay, well, this may be a little immature, but but it's fun. It's fun,
Yeah,
because by a certain age, we tend to be set in our ways and our routines. I got this, I got that, I got at 5 a.m. You'll always get up at 5 a.m., Weedy, right? How
always.
many opportunities will you have this sort of like the direct connection with your son, just like this? Okay,
Always.
you guys are both playing. So I will never forget that the first time I took our kids to the aquarium, and there
Hmm.
would have been maybe, well, the younger one didn't really know what she was. She was like one, but the older one was maybe three, like about three. And she was so excited. She was like pointing at the dolphins and whatever. And she's like, fish, fish, fish. I was like, kind of like, I'm pointing to him. It's like, oh yeah, fish. Her excitement was contagious. She's excited. And I'm excited. Let yourself go with that. It's such a great opportunity to just to be a child again, at least one more time.
I promise you, and I
Yeah.
don't miss those moments of being a child again with my children. Like my son is on TikTok, so am I. So whenever he learns a dance on TikTok, right, I have to practice with him. Now,
Yeah.
this is a kid who no longer lives at home with me. But he would make it his business to call me. He'd be like, "Mommy, what are you doing this weekend?" I'm like, "Maybe I have a podcast to record." Or maybe he was like, "Okay, so are you going to be free for about an hour or two?" I'm like, "Yeah." And I'm talking. And as we're talking, the doorbell is ringing. I'm thinking maybe it's somebody else or my neighbor. It's my child. I'm
Mm.
like, "You could at least tell me that you were on your way or something. Let me know." But you're calling and you're actually on your way. You're actually on your way. Then he'll come be like, "Oh, mommy, you still got it in you because you were a cheerleader in high school, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." And I'm saying to myself, "Lord, why did I tell this kid this?" Like, he was like, "Okay, so do this. Let's do this." And in that moment, I have to learn to dance. And then he'll post the dance on his TikTok.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, "Okay, so can I post it on mine?" He's like, "No, mommy, you're too grown." But I know on your page, he likes the fact that, I have a beautiful mom. My mom can still dance. My mom is still active in my life, you know. Let me go ahead and show her off.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And like the little moments of him enjoying that, okay, I go to the store with my mom and other people think that my mom is my girlfriend makes me just light up. And I'm like, no, it doesn't work like that.
I get those moments when because I'm a linguist by trade. I teach linguistics and also English, and so I pick up all these new words from my students. I listen to them because I mean, it's so like when I was just talking to our younger daughter is away at a university, and we're talking about something like, oh, whatever, this new restaurant opened up, and I said, your dad and I are so rizzed up about it, and she's like, no, don't say that, don't say that. And I remember like doing this on purpose, driving in the car and saying, "Well, that is just too sketchy for me."
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's like things that you learn from your children or like things that you hear and you would say those words. Like my son came up, he heard something. I don't know what it was. He heard something from I think a comedian. And when he said the word before he before he get his point across, if he knows that you're wrong, he'd be like, let's start there. And I'm like, okay, let's start where? Let's start pointing out your flaws. He'd be like, let's start there. So he did something, and I'm like, okay, did you just finish up the whole box of cereal and left the, box in the pantry?
As they would inevitably do.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, let's start there. Then he looked at me like, oh no, you didn't, mommy.
No,
I'm
you
like,
did not say that.
yes, I did. So what I want us to do, as parents and being very mindful of how we interact with our children, do you think by being so mindful set a tone for our children to distance themselves or to get closer to you?
I think this playfulness, really like being playful.
Mhm.
I think it helps us really build a connection. It's not just about, given tasks, reporting to each other in the news, this and
Right.
that, what do you want me to do? It's not, they're not our clients. We want to be their friends. And I don't think I don't think it breaks the sort of the distance or the breaks. They still know that they know they're your parent, but they also know that kind of like you're interested in their world. You're interested in their language. You're interested in the things that they're interested in.
Yeah.
What's happening for you. Even though sometimes, honestly, sometimes you have this. I can't think of a subject right now, but sometimes you're talking to your kids
Hmm.
and they launch into something and like, oh god, this is so uninteresting, but you pretend that it is, right? Like, uh-huh, yeah, really. And what did she say? Oh, really? Oh, well. And what does your family live? I'm like, okay, okay. Like, because but you do because you want them, when one thing I would also say is that the more adult they get, and now I'm kind of dealing with two young ladies, like I said, 18
Yeah.
and 20, the more strategic you have to be about what you tell them and when.
Yeah.
Because if there is really no opening for you to go in with some heavy stuff, then they won't be able to hear you.
Yes.
But if you feel like that, okay, well, they're bringing this up or something, and maybe this is the right time, right space, you just go all in. But you choose your words carefully, because being strategic means you know what you want to get out of this
Out of
conversation.
this conversation.
It's not open ended. And once you've done that, you back away. Okay,
Yeah.
put it out there. They're gonna think about it. Maybe they'll lash out or whatever. But at least let's just leave it at that for now.
Yeah.
So there's more and more and more of that. I noticed.
So
It's
you talked about going in and speaking to your children, right? Once that portal is open, please take advantage of it. I'm a parent, I'm aware of that. So it's like when they're not in that space of being open to talk, you
yeah.
dare not come in there with the harsh, the screaming, because you're gonna get rejected.
hmm And just sort of you'll burn that.
Yes, you'll burn that. So as a parent, being mindful on how you approach your children. Do you take rejection from your children personal?
Oh, it'd be easy to say, of course not, but I feel it. It hurts.
It does.
It hurts. So emotionally, I mean, I recognize that. Yeah, that hurt me.
Hmm.
that hurt me, and but I'm also looking at like, well, but I'm also reacting to it, and that's really
Mhm,
not them anymore. Now it's me. I'm
mhm.
hurt because it reminds me of the time when my mother and I, and so on and so forth.
Yes.
So but at more kind of a logical, like in my mind, I know that they're changing, they're growing, and there's sort of like push and pull between you and them.
Yes.
So right now they're pulling away, but then they will bounce back because
He'll
of
bounce. Yeah.
because we're still connected on such a deep level that they have to, like a bungee cord,
Mhm.
you know, come back to. So right now they're trying to pull away and be more like adult and all, but then they will. So yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy to handle. Our kids are also quite different. Our younger one, I'm telling you, she's 18, going on 30. So she's like, and just amazes me, because again, it's like, well, we raised them the same in the same household.
Household.
So it's really like there's something deep inside of you that that comes out. And so yeah, but even with her, sometimes what she says or does something and it hurts, and you just. But later, maybe there is an opportunity to say, well, later, not at the moment, but later. You think strategically. Do you really want to have this conversation? Is it important? And sometimes it is. Sometimes it is. You'll say, when we were talking about something last week, I mean, it really kind of, I really felt hurt about it. I really felt sad or disappointed that you would feel that way, and something. And it might be a good sort of learning moment too for them. Also, I think the older they get, the more they understand how vulnerable we are.
Yes.
We're not like those, like, super women and supermen, that we can do it all. No, no.
Like for me, now starting like it's been like I think like 5 years now since I started doing this. I started parenting from this place of allowing my kids to get to know me as their mother, but also see that I'm a woman who
Hmm.
is interested in other things, who love to dance, who love to work out, who love to be herself, but at the same time enjoy her personal space without my children being around.
Right.
Right. So with my children, I don't just want you to see me always in mother mode, always in a parent mode, always as, move this from here, get this from here, do this, and always giving our instructions. See me from a place of me, oh, my mother looked nice today. Where are you going? Oh, you're doing this for yourself. I want you to see me do things for myself outside of
Hmm.
always doing things as a parent.
Right.
So you being a dad, have you done anything in your world to change who you are when it comes to you being a dad and you as an individual?
Absolutely. And we, now that they're adults, well, actually, your older one is an adult. Let's say you're going to your dance class
Hmm.
and they're calling you. Call them afterwards. You know, they are, your son is an adult, you're an adult.
Yeah.
It can wait.
Yes.
You have,
Yeah.
you're both adults. When they're 10, no, I mean, like, you have to be all over it. But when
Yeah.
24, and
Yeah.
that's changing. The one thing that we did, which was a little bit unconventional, I think, when our kids were growing up, and again, it was only the two of us
Hmm.
because, John's parents passed away,
Hmm.
and we really didn't have, any of his. We don't have any of his family living close, and with me there really wasn't much either. So it's just the two of us raising our kids,
Hmm.
and figuring out how to do that while working full time. So
Hmm.
it was not easy. So what we did is we took separate vacations. And people are like, oh, how could you do this? Yeah, we did that, and I would say once a year. For me, it was usually around some conference where, I would be presenting or something. So I would go away, but not for 2 days, but for a week.
Hmm.
And we would coordinate it, so like, you go away for a few days, and you come back sort of recharged and more ready to do so. But I should say, probably, I mean, when there's two people, of course you can do that.
Hmm.
But when it's one person, I know it's hard to get away. It's just hard to get away. But if there's any opportunity If there's any opportunity just to carve out a little bit of space for yourself,
Hmm.
you need that. You need that rehab time.
You said it just right. Rehab time. I swear. Because when you go into rehab, please heal something. Please recharge.
you
So
know.
you talk about, so you,
This is your mother's whatever weekly lunch with her friends between
yes,
12 and 2 on Friday. Okay, so no, I'm not scheduling that. You'll just have to
nephew,
wait
we're
till I get there.
not, yeah, we're not scheduling
Or
anything.
this is your mom's yoga class. So this is
Yeah,
your mother's Bible study. Whatever it is that's special to you and that cannot be changed, and it'll be some sort of like, okay, I need some time just for
yeah.
myself, just for myself. And then
So,
you come back a better parent.
yes,
Yeah.
man. So, oh, I love this conversation. So it's like now I don't even care. I don't bother. Even though my youngest is going to be 16, my oldest is almost 24, right? But when my kid got to be a certain age, when my son was 20, 19, and all that, no, I was taking vacation. I was taking vacation. So, to those parents out there who are solely living their lives for their kids and cannot take vacation, please search within yourself. What are you afraid to explore? What don't you want to see happen for you to you? Like, what are some of the good opportunities that you're actually mixing out on? It could be a new relationship, new friendship, a new side of you that you're going to get to know and love. You never know. Take the vacation, take the time out for yourself, and get to enjoy who you are. Create something about yourself as a mother, as an individual. Well, let me not say as a mother, as an individual, as a woman, as a man, away from parenting. That way you get to know who you are. You cannot be sucked into parenting 20 and think that this is your way out. This is who you're meant to be in this world. No, it's just a role that you're playing. You had a life before you became a parent. Okay?
Yeah.
So live that life, live your purpose, but still incorporate parenting within that. That's just like you working your job, even though parenting and your professional life are two different things. It's like working as a nurse and also being a mom. Yeah, you're still a nurse.
But it is having to, it's totally like having two jobs.
Yeah,
You have to,
two
you have
jobs.
to support yourself and your family full time, and you have to be a full
Yes,
time parent. Absolutely.
yes, yes.
One thing I would think about, I think, something can be arranged. Maybe you have a
Mhm.
relative that you can leave your child with for a few days.
But what if you don't have
Maybe,
the relative?
maybe, our local YMCA has like sleepaway camps for a week. Well, maybe they'll go away for a week and they're quite affordable. I remember, maybe you'll go to Vegas for a couple of nights, during that time, things, if you put your mind to it, you can arrange for a little time for yourself.
Yeah,
And don't feel guilty about it, because that you need a break too.
yes. So speaking of guilt, right? You just opened a whole new can of worm for me. How can we not experience parenting guilt
Mm.
when you know that you have this big responsibility, this task that you have to continuously work on, improve upon, but then you need a break. But when you take the break as a mother, as a father, in the back of your head, I left my kid by themselves. Even though they're grown, they're of age. I know of a parent who took a break, went on vacation, and cried her eyes out because she was by herself. Yeah, away.
Maybe what she was crying about was that she kind of forgot who she was. Like, who am I without my kids? What am I? Who am And I think it's good that she went, and at least maybe she noticed that
Yeah,
that how much she was completely consumed by just being a parent, because
parent.
it'll take over. It will
It
take
will
over.
take over. So, how can we, like, let's say, so you talked about not having your husband's family side of the family being alive, right? And you have to take, like you have to take, like separate vacations. So how do you build like a network of supportive team around your family or your children when
You know,
your personal
yeah.
is not involved in your parenting?
You know what happened naturally is that we built relationships with primarily with moms in our neighborhood. You
Mm-hmm.
know, as gay men, you know, most of well, I wouldn't say most, but many of our friends are women, you know,
Mm-hmm.
straight women, and so those moms, some single, some married, living in our neighborhood with their kids about the same age, they became our support network,
Mm-hmm.
and it was also good because even though I strongly believe that any functioning adult can be a caretaker for a child. You know, I was raised by my grandparents, not so much by my parents, but my grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
I owe it to them. Um, you know, caretaking is one thing, but kind of learning how to be a woman in this society or how to be a man in this society.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not how to be a person that you learn from the parents, but how. So I thought they really role modeled for them that kind of the idea of what it means to be a strong woman,
Mm-hmm.
you know, those moms. So yeah, they became our network. Sometimes, you know, I'm running late, can you pick them up, you know, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Or she got this and that, what do you think we should do? So that was essential. But when you were talking earlier about guilt comes from, I think, from other people projecting stuff onto us and us sort of internalizing that. But this is where I'm like, no, sorry, this is my life, this is my family, my house, and I decide, how I run it, unless you want to come in and do it for me.
Which you're not even going to be here that long after you get to experience what I've been experiencing. Goodness. Yeah. It's so good. It's so good to build a network of supportive community as a parent around you. And it stems from, like you said, any functioning, well minded adult can be a caretaker, right? For our children. And it's something that single parents or parents need to incorporate within their personal lives day to day. So that way you're not fighting yourself at night in the middle of the night when you wake up like, oh my God, I feel so guilty. I forgot the kid at daycare. I was running late. Daycare called me. But sometimes that can only happen, 9 times out of 10, that can only happen when you have trust in other people. When you don't trust yourself, you would not have that courage.
I guess you're right. I guess you're right.
Other people. So you built that and you trusted those neighbors and you still do trust them. And it's like, it sounds like you've been reaching out to them for so long. And you guys, yeah, yeah. And you guys got this strong bond communication and you trust them because you trust yourself to be a good parent. So of course you're going to trust somebody else that you trust. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say it was also, our kids would play together, but our friends, we also became their confidants too. Women would tell us things that would never tell their husbands, I should say, exactly because that's our gay friends. We're not in competition. We're not in competition in any way. So that helps. Another thing I would say, I'm Jewish. We raise our kids Jewish. Your church, your faith community can also become that extended community
Mm.
where it also begins sort of to overlap the relationships, though, hanging out, families and all. I remember there were some issues we had to deal with one of our kids when she was an adolescent, and I went to the rabbi's wife because I knew that they were dealing with something similar. And she came over and she would call, periodically to check and see. It's all part of it. It's all part of it. It's all, it became sort of part of our supportive network. But again, it was like sort of like found family, not biologically, but biological family. It was found family.
Wow.
But yeah, it was essential. It was essential for us to make it through, especially just being just the two of us. Yeah.
So how was it in the beginning, right? As a infant, young dad, how was it?
It was hard,
You
but what
you
happened is I helped
hard.
raise my sister. I helped raise my sister who was 8 years younger than me.
Okay.
So I was always sort of like a second dad to her. So when it comes to caretaking and physical, physiological things,
Mhm.
that really was not such a big deal that people think. We're not squeamish. It was like, you need to take care of things. You learn how to take care of things
Mhm.
and what to do and what to shop for. That was never that was never an issue. But what happened is the very first chapter of my book is set about a third of the way into our process, and it's called curbside delivery. So that was the day when the social worker brings a newborn to our house. And there is a lot of drama surrounding that newborn coming to our house.
Mhm.
And so she brings her, and like I said, she's a newborn, and they bring her with a binder with paperwork and 4 bottles of formula, and that's it. And I called it, baby and a bag, nothing else. It's like, here, this was. And so she hands her over, on the curb. John goes into the car to retrieve the baby from the. That's it, right? So, and then at the very end of the chapter, so basically John gets up and he leaves, and then he comes back with a toddler, and that toddler is her sister. So that's the beginning of my book. And then I explained to the reader how we got to this point where we have a newborn in the house and her sister, who is a toddler, also in the house. And then things start getting very, very complicated, with courts and everything else as
Yeah.
the story continues. So that was hard, because basically having a newborn and a pre-toddler, because her sister
Mhm.
was 20 months old at the time, on completely different schedules, completely different sets of needs, and we're working full time, and I'm going through a career change because I'm graduating from grad school, about to quit my job and start something completely different. That was hard. That was hard, but we made it. We made it through that, and everything that came afterwards. We made it, and
So,
it
where
all
can
worked
people
out.
get this book? You just said that now you just got my jaw just dropped. I'm a mother. I know the sleepless nights, and I know raising a toddler and an infant. It's like your days and nights, morning. It's like lack of sleep, tired.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you get a 30-minute nap, just tell yourself thank you. Like, yeah, even when you stand up and doze off, just enjoy that moment. Wow. So where can people get your book?
Oh, so my book came out last year. It
Mhm.
is published by Traditional Press. The press is called Ooligan Press. Is based at Portland State University, and they published it. It's available. What it looks like. It's called "The Family Maybe: Two Dads, Two Babies, and the Court Cases That Brought Us Together." And it's available on Amazon Bookshop. If you'd like me to sign it for you, or for anyone you want to buy for Valentine's Day,
Right.
you can find it on my website.
It sounds like a good read. It sounds like a good read.
Well, thank you,
It's
thank you.
a good read.
And yeah, and you can find me on Facebook or Instagram if you have any questions. Again, my name is Lane Igoudin, Lane Lane, and my last name is Igoudin. So at Lane Igoudin on Instagram, Facebook, and also I have a pretty active website, so you can find me there. Or just send me an email, laneigudin@gmail.com. So I'll be really, really happy to hear from.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Weedy. Thank you.
This conversation was, I'm not even going to say great. It was out of this world because we touched on the parenting expectation. We talked about parenting guilt a little bit. We talked about enjoying yourself again and allowing your children to see the person that you are away from parenting, enjoying the child in you, touching out to the child in you every now and then. Mindful parenting, where you discuss how your children can open up safe space for you. How do you feel when you get rejected by your children? Everything is in this episode. I want to tell you thank you. Don't be surprised if I reach out to you again to appear back to our.
Please do. Please do. I'll be happy to
Thank
come
you
back. And
so much. I really do appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Lane, and I'm your host, Miss Wedeh Guar. Have a blessed day.